If you were wanting to begin your fitness journey, whether it's a first step, trying to lose a couple of pounds, or it's running an Ironman, then this is the podcast for you. Marcus Kennedy is an ultra-marathon runner. He recently completed an Ironman, and he is a personal trainer, a qualified personal trainer at that. I know on social media nowadays you have so many non-qualified personal trainers. He is going to teach you how he tailored his diet and training routine to run an Ironman, and also how he would train you if you were his client. This is the Incline Podcast. My name is Harrison Brown. If you're watching or listening, I hope this helps.
When I started my job, like to become a personal trainer, no one wants a personal trainer that goes out every weekend.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, it doesn't look good.
It's a bit like having a fat doctor.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't look after yourself.
Sorry, but how is this really shit working here?
Yeah.
You're telling me to lose weight
Yeah.
and you're a fat doctor.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So after that, I reckon that's when I really started to like hone in on this health journey. I started to look after myself more, started to take life like seriously, because obviously I was injured a lot through rugby. I think from then it was just a case of, if I don't do it now, when's this going to happen? So post-COVID, that's when I started to really like hone in on it.
Yeah. And you've just made the jump from going from, I know we discussed it earlier, but you've just made the jump from going from Gleneagles Townhouse in Scotland to freelance, haven't you?
Yeah, totally. So I was there for a year and a half. We were there for the opening of it. I took a big jump. I was in an environment which I was probably really comfortable in. So my first PT job was with probably my best mate. He got me in there. I got myself in there, but he helped me make that big step. And then I probably realised it was a good time to jump ship at the time. So not because it was a bad situation I was in, but it was a situation where I was like, I need to see what this other side is like. So I moved to Gleneagles Townhouse for opening June 2022. So it feels like ages ago now.
Yeah,
but
we're getting
honest,
old, mate.
but it feels like yesterday at the same time.
Yeah.
And that was a huge challenge. That was a big challenge, because I was going into a space where I didn't know what life was like. Like, I was training people that might not necessarily have the same goals as me. They might not want to run marathons. They might not want to do Ironmans. But I think that adaptation was so good for me, because I tried to be a master at my craft, but to be a master of my craft, I had to learn the other side, so the basics, and not just hone in on what I was interested in. It was what they were interested in. So it's not my needs. It's not what I want them to do. It's what do you need off of me to make you better. So that made me. It didn't like humble me or anything. It just kind of simplified coaching. Coaching in its finest form is providing, what you need as a client. I think that comes with every aspect of life.
Yep.
So if you came to me and said, I want X and Y and Z, I can challenge you on that. But at the same time, I'm thinking, well, what do you actually want? What do you need? It's not what I want. I couldn't give a shit what I want. It's like, you're the priority here. So I think that's where a lot of people get caught up, and not just my industry. Is like, it's what I want. It's nothing to do with what I want. It's what you want as a client.
Do you think that people, when they come to you, have unrealistic expectations of what a good body perhaps looks like? Because if you look at these like movie stars that are just up to the gills, like Jake Gyllenhaal, and he's ripped and he's shredded and he's like definitely on steroids. Do you think that it's kind of unrealistic for people to be like, oh, I want to look like Jake Gyllenhaal?
I think, yeah, like totally. But at the same time, like these people are good at what they do. Like, just because you take steroids or testosterone, like I know a few people that do it, it doesn't make them like not good at what they do. If anything, I respect them massively. Not because they take it. I don't agree with that side, and I've had a conversation with someone that does, and it doesn't actually change that much, like my outlook on them. But I respect them massively, because it is. People think it's a quick fix. You still have to work bloody hard. Like, you can't skip anything.
Yeah.
Everything's just, you can get bigger. You can do more than what your body is supposed to do because you're giving it more.
Yeah.
But you might, you'll have a lot of body adaptions.
Yeah, your balls will shrink.
Yeah. You'll know a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot that changes to your body. But going back to your question, like, these guys need to get in tip-top shape for whatever they need to, do movie-wise, etc. So Jake Gyllenhaal,
yeah.
that's how you say it. He's a handsome fella.
Yeah, he's a good looking boy. But he also has, like, see, if you look at normal people, they've got 9 till 5 jobs, right? The normal working people normally work 9 till 5. It's different when you work freelance or you have your own business or something like that, but typically that's what you work. These guys' jobs from 9 until 5 is to get in that shape.
Yeah,
and
totally.
for like 6 months. So obviously they're going to be absolutely ripped. But then the scary thing is that it can go the flip way. And I had a discussion with a gentleman called Brian Costello on the podcast, and I want to hear your take on this.
Okay.
Overweight or obese models that there's kind of a movement around.
This is a good one.
Not fat shaming, and I think our views will align here. I think that fundamentally overweight models or models in general should be something you aspire to. You might never get there, but at least you're making a health journey to get there. Jake Gyllenhaal, for example, he's ripped, he's on steroids. You'll never get there, average, normal working people, but at least you're making steps in the right direction. Why would you promote an obese person?
Oh, like Harrison, mate, I'm totally with you on this one.
Yeah.
Like, this is good because I'm not pretending here.
Yeah.
I've never been overweight, so it's, is it a bias outlook on it? Probably, but at the same time, I mean, I don't know how it feels to be overweight. However, I know how it feels to be, I would say, not underweight, but I know how it feels to lose, weight. I lost 8 to 10 kilos when I did my Ironman. You can't be a chunky Ironman and think, to succeed, like, you have to be able to go for 13 hours. And to be perfectly honest, bicep curls aren't going to help you go for 13 hours. But going back to your point, like, obese models, if you actually think about that, like, what makes that okay in the first place? Like, people have to look up to certain people. I get that it's okay. It's completely okay thinking that that's okay to be obese, but that's not what people should aspire to be. If you're overweight, there is something fundamentally wrong in your life.
Yeah.
That comes down to habits. That comes down to consistency in your diet. Like, I'm not asking you, or no one is asking you to have a 6-pack and look like Jake Gyllenhaal. Or, no one is asking you to be like that. That is probably unrealistic to 99% of the population. But being overweight and getting it confused with, that being okay, like, yes, it's okay, but it's not something that we should aspire to.
Not at all.
Not at all. Like,
dangerous.
Yeah, it's a really bad outlook to have, and I think the last few years has definitely not helped that, because we've fallen into this culture or this outlook on life that makes it okay to be like that. Like,
it's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's just not, because if we actually look at the nitty gritty of it, if you're overweight, there's probably a higher chance that you're going to have a heart attack. There's a higher chance that you're going to have a stroke. There's a higher dependency on the NHS. Like, you could keep going. I'm not qualified enough to speak past probably the NHS point, but once you get to the NHS, you rely on the health system more, which costs more to the government. Like, if you actually look at it, that does not make it okay.
Yeah.
But if you're, I actually like, so see, when I go to the gym, I actually like seeing overweight people graft. I don't care if you're walking on a treadmill. You are doing your utmost to try. I'm okay with that. But, creating these models and being comfortable not saying you want to lose weight, I just find that mad.
Yep.
I don't know. What's your outtake on it?
I'm kind of the same. I think it's fundamentally dangerous. And I think you'd never put cigarettes on advertisement boards because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
So why would you put something with very fundamentally dangerous health implications on posters,
What?
on magazines, on social media.
I think social media is dangerous now because it spreads like wildfire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it just goes like that.
Yeah.
And as you said, like the cigarette point, like it's such a good comparison because it's just dangerous.
Yeah. So, and if people would see a cigarette, they'd be like,
They'd freak
oh,
out.
that's disgusting. That's really dangerous because it's been drilled into us. But society now is saying, that's okay to be overweight. We'll fix you. We can give you liposuction.
And you know the mad thing is, these are the people that try all these hacks to try and lose weight.
Yeah. And
That's the mad thing about it.
And the one that we were discussing previously, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Lemon in water on TikTok. What's your thoughts?
I mean, I've never tried lemon and water. All I know is it's a load of shite.
Yeah.
There will be some sort of benefit from it, but as we were speaking previously, the people that are having the lemon water are probably the ones that are, skipping to like a belt with electrodes going into your 6-pack. I mean, these are the quick fixes that we're on about.
Yeah.
And if we want to go like more into it, it's the instant gratification. They want that instant result because as society now, we're used to getting quick answers, quick results. And if you look at the people that are successful, it's taken 20 to 30 years at least to perfect their craft.
Yeah.
So for you, as we were speaking, like your dad, he runs very successful jewelry business, but like that's taken years to build up reputation, brand. It's taken probably years to train you up to the standard which you probably still aren't at. To meet his standard. But these people want these quick results, these instant gratification. That's what it is.
Yeah. And it takes years. You're right, though. It takes years. I think, especially I've experienced this, especially I've had a couple of kind of more viral moments, and there was a couple of brands that wanted to buy footage off of me and stuff like that. And I remember speaking to a buddy of mine called Adrian. He's a big YouTuber, and he was like, you need to understand, Harrison, that it's not just the footage they want to buy. You've learned how to, let's say, fly a drone over 6 years. You then got up at 3 a.m. to climb a mountain and get the perfect light. And they're wanting to buy a drone shot off of you for like minimal amounts. He was like, no, why don't you train someone for 6 years and get it yourself? And that's why it needs to, you need that the payment needs to be sufficient to the craft.
Oh, totally. Like it's taken, I don't think I'm perfect, but like I put in the extra hours in order to be better than I was yesterday. And like, that's probably why I'm not into the transformation side of things, because I'm more into the performance. So most of the people I coach are people that are looking to enhance their performance. These people think long term, and it's the first thing I say to them. I'm not here to give you a quick fix. Like I can't change your life in the next month, but what I can do is I can change your outlook in the next month, which will impact the next year.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, so like I can change your outlook on it, which will impact the year, but I can't change you in a month.
Yeah,
it takes years to change habits.
Yeah,
I've been doing the same thing for years, and it works. However, you got to think, like, for you as well, you've been constantly perfecting your craft for, let's just say, 5 years with photography stuff, and you still like get humbled.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like there's still that odd occasion where you're like, oh, all right, okay, I need to improve that bit. That's the same as me. I look at people that I look up to. It's really important that you have role models, because if you don't, it's like, well, where's the ceiling there?
Yeah.
Where's that? Where's the top? Where's the pinnacle? The top of that mountain where I want to get to? It's probably him, but then you think, right, once I get to him, is there the next stage? Yeah. I think if you look in that way, then it's just, it's a recipe for to succeed. Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of performance, if I was to approach you, let's say I'm overweight. I'm at 95 to 100 kilos. I'm overweight, not hugely overweight, but I'm overweight. And I was to come to you, what would be the first kind of tips that you would tell me to either cut out in my diet or, start eating more of? What would be the kind of things you'd tell me?
You know what? It's probably not even diet or anything like that. It's just as I said, that outlook within that first month. It's like, right, when I do something, it has to have a positive outcome. So it's, I think action. So the first, I say the first positive action has to be getting up on a Monday morning. Doing that thing, whatever that may be, going to the gym. If you scale it back even more and take the gym out of it, it's like getting up and doing the right thing, like making your bed, positive action. Like most of the people that are lacking in their life, let's just say overweight, there's actually a huge missing piece somewhere else. So it's probably lack of respect for themselves, being too comfortable, not getting out of the comfort zone. These have not really anything to do with me.
With the diet.
Yeah, with the diet. That comes as a secondary issue. So I had, obviously I'm not going to name him, but I had a guy that joined me 4 months ago, something like that. And yeah, he was overweight. And I have changed his outlook. And the first thing I said to him was what I said to you previously, like 10 minutes ago. I need to change your outlook in the first month of like your expectations. So you set the expectations, then it's like, whoa, if you set the expectations at the start, then you can, how do I explain this? If you set the expectations at the start, you can't fail, because then you're like, where's the limit to these expectations? So for the first one for him was, we need to implement healthy lifestyle, obviously. So this might look like you need to get out 3 times a week. So that went from not going to the gym to, for him, it might have been twice a week at the start.
Yeah.
And it's his relationship with himself that he had to improve, and it's taking small steps. So I said, by the end of the year, we need to do this. Not by the end of the month, by the end of the year. But it's small changes. It's hard for me because I've not been in that position. I've never been overweight, so I find it really hard to relate.
Yeah.
But what I can do is I can help you achieve things that I'm good at. So I'm very consistent. Touch wood. But I wasn't off work for the last 10 years until a couple of months ago. Got food poisoning, and on that day I was preaching about me not being off work, and then lo and behold, that night I was in the bucket. But yeah, I can change those habits by saying, right, consistency, for example. Let's improve consistency. Go to bed at the same time every night. I know it sounds like really boring and repetitive, but like, don't go on your phone. Right, like sleep, because obviously we're going to speak about sleep, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like, I think sleep's fascinating because people neglect it. However, it's the best form of recovery. It's free. Let's just reiterate, it is free. You don't have to pay for sleep, yet people neglect it.
Yeah.
I find that extraordinary.
I think it's because people are so attached to their phones as well. And I think, especially, by the way, this isn't a plug, this isn't paid. Garmin,
Yeah.
Over the last, I've been wearing this for, I'm going to say a week now. And if I did a live stream the other night on YouTube, and I had that light on, so an aperture light, big bright light. And I went to sleep after it about 10 p.m. I normally get up at 6. And my sleep was so impacted by looking at a screen for an hour before bed and a bright light. People are doing that until 11, 12 at night, and they're wondering why they can't sleep.
So, funny you say that. So, I really struggled with my sleep during my Ironman training in particular, because it was like 7 days a week of training, and I figured out I had to get the training done by latest 4 p.m. If it was any later, it would affect my sleep. So, you need to start finding what suits you, because it might not necessarily suit you, for example. What works for me might not work for you. So that was one thing. The other thing was my wind down routine. So for me, very similar to yourself, my head's going at 100 miles an hour. Like, I had training to think about, I had family to think about, I had my girlfriend to think about. Like, that was probably a big one. Like, subconsciously, I was thinking, it'll be okay. But I was training 17 to 20 hours a week. I was working in person 40 hours a week. This is not preaching or blowing smoke at my arse. And, doing online programming, private business, 15 hours a week at least. Where's the time to interact with people there?
Yeah.
So luckily, she was in my corner, and she understood because she's in my industry.
Yeah.
I I think that was so important, having the right person in your corner. So if we just go back, we have social interaction, all those things to think about. And then you think to yourself, you need to wind down. So for me, it was like 100 miles an hour. How can I respect my sleep? One of them was, like you, the screen time.
Yeah.
So for me,
sure.
I was like, no brainer. I'm not looking at my laptop an hour before I go to bed.
Yeah.
And an easy fix for me was, if anyone struggles with their sleep, I've been there because I struggled with it so much. And I kept waking up during the night. So it wasn't being able, I just kept waking up during the night. And when I woke up, I was wide awake. It wasn't like, it wasn't because I had a nightmare or anything. It was just, I was wide awake. I was like, this is really, and it was the same time every night, like 2:05 or whatever. It's really weird. It's funny how your body works.
Yeah. Yeah.
But going back to the point that you asked, it was like, for me, an hour before bed, no laptop, nothing, but be in my bed.
Yeah.
So, your brain is already decompressing. It's shutting down, like your circadian rhythm. You need to obviously respect that. That's a key to sleep. Is your circadian rhythm. Get used to the same bedtimes, etc. But then there's the other thing, which is alcohol. That plays a huge factor in it as well.
And that's horrendous. And that brings me on to the point. Sobriety. 8 months?
9 now.
9 months.
9.
How have you...
Coming to 10 at the end of this month.
Nice. And how have you found the sober side?
Really easy. Really easy, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really stubborn. I've probably not.
I know.
I'm a stubborn motherfucker. I do not, once I make a decision, even like everyone watching this or listening to this will probably be like nodding, going, yep, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
You will not change. I'm so stubborn, but yes, it can shoot me in the foot sometimes. It can be my biggest downfall, but it can also be my, biggest thing that I can rely on to like consistency.
Yeah.
I have had probably some hard occasions where you have to turn down alcohol. The biggest thing for me was the social interaction or social situation. That's the hardest part.
That's what I'm not sober, but I'm going towards it at the moment. I'm kind of almost there. I think I drank in New Year. Apart from that, I can't remember the last drink I've had. And it is that social thing though, because you're around your friends, especially like Scotland boys, Glasgow boys, like Edinburgh boys. If you're not drinking and you're part of a group, it's why not drinking?
Totally. And that's the hardest part. Like everyone I speak to, my clients, the one I referred to, I reckon 5 others as well. The reason why they're probably not making as much progress, or were not making as much progress before they introduced me into their life to help them out, was alcohol. Like, that impacts so many different factors.
Yeah.
Sleep. And if we want to delve deep into it, like socially, if you feel like you need to have a drink to have a good time, and if you feel like you need to have a drink to socially connect with something, something is fundamentally wrong. Like that is not right.
Yeah, it's an anxiety.
Imagine I came here today and was like, sorry mate, I'm just going for a pint before because I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Like something is you making that relationship to alcohol, that is just wrong. But that's society for you. It's the UK, which is pretty awful for it. Scotland's one of the worst.
Yeah.
And this, I just want to reiterate my point. I'm not against people that drink here. Like I'm all for it. The one thing as society and as individuals we can improve is in moderation.
Yeah.
Everything in moderation. Like that can go as far to spending habits. Everything in moderation. Like buy clothes for yourself. Go get a Chinese. Like it's not going to kill you.
Yeah.
If you have a Chinese once a week, it's not going to kill you. Yeah. If you have a Chinese 7 times a week, you're going to end up like that obese model that's modeling for Lululemon. Like what makes that okay?
Yeah.
I might come across quite harsh there, but it's fact. Like
yeah. And the UK have a problem with the UK as well is when they do drink, Oh my God. See, when my pals drink, I mean, you'll know most of them.
I was brutal for it. I mean,
drink.
I'll put my hand up. I was probably a pretty good drinker. I've made some serious mistakes, and I'm okay saying that.
Yeah.
I've made some big mistakes. I have learned from them. However, I think I've done my time. It's like going to prison. I've never been.
I'm glad.
Never been, but I can probably assume it's like doing your time, and once you've done your time, it's like, right, I've done that. It's like
nightclubs.
Yeah.
I
can't remember
hate
that.
nightclubs.
Yeah.
Well, you can't hear anyone. Oh, you get social anxiety, so you need a cup in your hand to dance.
Or like you're like, oh, I've not got a drink in my hand, I'm going to look awkward.
Yeah.
Like, why is that? Why is that the connection that we have as humans? I find that honestly mad.
The interesting thing though, I used to have this really badly actually. So I've always had quite bad anxiety. And I figured out pretty quick actually when I was like 18, 19, if I went to the gym either in the morning or the afternoon, my anxieties were stripped away. I was clear.
Why was that?
Concise. I believe that if we as people have excess energy, and this might not be a fact, but this is what I believe. If we have excess energy that we haven't burned off, it will accumulate somewhere else. And actually, there's facts around it mutating cells. If you don't do exercise, it can increase cancer risk, things like that. And I believe I had so much excess energy that I hadn't burnt off that I wasn't clear, and that would give me some kind of social anxiety. So I figured out if I don't drink, it keeps my exercise pattern good. So if I was to go to a social event and I hadn't exercised, I'd need a drink. If I was to go to a social event but I had exercised before, or I'd went a run, something like that, really simple, I was fine.
What? How do you fill the void of not having alcohol in your life?
That's a great question. For me,
what's like that gap filler?
Yeah, for me, it was I was very lucky, and I fell into something that I like really love and that I'm slightly obsessed about. And I think so. I have ADHD.
That's okay to be obsessed with something.
Yeah. So I've got ADHD. So and I think when you have a neurodivergent brain like that, you can hyper focus on certain things that you care about. But you knew me at school. I was a fucking nightmare because I didn't care.
That's why I liked you.
Yeah, because I didn't care. Like, oh, let's go learn algebra. No. And then I get kicked out of class. But
let's be honest. Have we used algebra now to this day? No.
No.
That teacher telling us like you need to learn algebra. I just turned and went, you can fucking get to me.
But yeah, I feel like I was very lucky in the fact that I could hyper focus on things. I found video and photography. Subsequently, whenever, especially when I was not in as much control of it, people and my friends were drinking, I'd stay and edit because that's where I got my satisfaction. And also, I woke up clear.
That was the void. That's the void. I think I don't think I had a void. The hardest bit for me was the day after. So the social stuff was never really an issue for me. I just drank because
it was done.
Everyone else did it, I didn't actually, when you look at it, do I enjoy having a pint? Probably not. The first one's probably quite nice because it's cold, but after that you're thinking, oh Christ.
Yeah, bloated.
Yeah, I'm not loving it. It's okay. Listen, it's okay to go through these experiences. As we said, like you have to go through things like this to understand like where you are as a person, what you want out of life. Do you want to be that guy that does go to the pub every week? During the week, starts drinking at 11 a.m. Like in my head, I didn't want to be that person. However, it made the whole alcohol like sobriety thing. That thing was really made easy for me because of my training at the time. I was training 7 days a week for my Ironman from April 2023 to my Ironman in September 2023. And I think it made the decision really easy because I didn't actually have the capacity to drink. I could not go out because I would have a half marathon to run the next day.
Yeah.
That makes my decision really easy. And because I'm a stubborn motherfucker, I said to people like, I'm not going out.
Yeah.
And then the biggest thing for me is your friends.
You are who you surround yourself with.
Yeah, totally. See if your friends probe you, you think, what am I getting out of this friendship? Like, are these actually my friends? If they're forcing, obviously no one can force you to do anything, but they can obviously influence it massively. Or, let's just use the word influence. When they're trying to influence you to drink, like, why? Like, it's your own goals that you've got at heart here. Like, I want to do as well as I can in the race or whatever it was, and for you, you want to do as well as you can in photography. I just see alcohol consistently having it with no moderation. I see that as a roadblock.
Yeah, and it kind of that kind of resonates with me because when I had the goal, photography and videography wise, I would be up at 3 a.m. driving to Glencoe. So I would be like to my friends, listen, I can't drink because I'm up at 3 a.m. I can't be over the limit, and I need to be sharp because these roads are dangerous.
You need to be sharp.
Yeah.
You need to have no fog.
Yeah.
But also, there's something so good about being up when no one's not.
Oh, it's so good.
And just like grafting away.
Yeah. No distractions.
Yeah, and I just think, like, for me, that's my like dopamine hit.
Yeah.
Like, being up, grafting while everyone's asleep. It's like satisfaction for me. It's not having to prove to anyone else I'm working harder, because effectively you're just changing your hours.
Yeah.
So your hours might have been 3 a.m. till 12 in the afternoon. Someone's hours might be 9 till 5.
Yeah.
You've just shifted the goalposts massively to make it work for you and your industry, your profession.
But interestingly enough, bringing it back to sleep and diet, if you flip your hours to get up earlier, you see in the hours of 9 p.m. until 12 p.m., you're on your phone, you're eating shit, or you're watching Netflix. Okay? So if you flipped your hours to, let's say you get up at 5:30, 6, which is normally
In the
what
morning.
I do.
Yeah.
In the morning. All of a sudden, 9 until 12, you're asleep. You're not eating shit. You're not on your phone. You're not watching Netflix.
And just progress a wee bit more. If you wake up at 5:30, 6, there's nothing to look at on your phone. Everyone's asleep.
Yeah.
Which is even better. Like, I say to people, I did a podcast on this. So, when I did my own podcast and we spoke about it as something that I want to take up again now that I've got more time, we did an episode on introducing people to habits. So what would I do in winter months to help people go to the gym? The first protocol I went to was make a positive action. So remember we spoke about actions. The first action I would take was go to and get the job done early in the morning. That means nothing can influence you after that. So say you have a shit day at work, your boss is on at you, or something comes up that might influence what you do after work, or might influence your behavior after work. Let's just say a bad influence. That doesn't happen before you go to work.
Yeah, and you've already done the task.
And you've already done the task. Do you see what I'm getting? So this early, if you're an early bird, I truly believe, like, if everyone was an early bird, the world or people would be better, because they would just get shit done and then leave time for, I don't have kids, but let's just say family. The biggest thing I hear is, I don't have family time after work. Like, you've just freed up, I coach a few people that I train in the morning, and yeah, it's like 6:30, but every morning, every Tuesday and Thursday, I go to the same guy, 6:30, last 3 years I've been going to him. And that means he's got time to give to his family, to give to his work. And he's like, I've already done the thing that, I had to do in the morning with Marcus. And now I can give full focus to everything else. Yeah. It's like you've done your photography, you've done everything. It's like, where can I shift my focus to for the rest of the day?
Yeah.
So I did a podcast about it. It's really interesting the way we work as humans. Like, why do we suddenly decide that we're a night person? Who decides that?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a night person, but I can work at night if you force me to. I'm a morning person because I force myself to get up, because I know that once I get that job done, it's like a task. Tick, done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing can influence that before that.
And it also builds your confidence. So if you get
Totally.
that first task done, all of a sudden the rest fall into place.
Yeah, totally. It's like a domino.
Yeah.
Once you hit one, the rest will just fall.
Exactly. And what was it like? So you've got this... well, firstly, I know what an Ironman is, but explain to people what an Ironman is for a second.
Yeah, so
This podcast is brought to you by Chisholm Hunter. Now, if it wasn't for Chisholm Hunter, we would not be sitting here today. Chisholm Hunter are a family-run jewelers that have been going for over 165 years. They have over 28 boutiques throughout the UK, and they specialise in luxury watches and jewellery. And in fact, the garment that I have on today is from Chisholm Hunter. However, they do stock with brands like Omega, Tudor, Blancpain, Vacheron Constantin, ton of other prestigious brands, as well as smartwatches. And they do bespoke diamonds, bespoke rings, bespoke jewellery. So if you're looking for anything for yourself or a loved one, head to chisholmhunter.co.uk. That's chisholmhunter.co.uk.
At the start, I knew what it was, but not the nitty gritty figures. So an Ironman is 3 disciplines, all in one. Normally it takes the average person 10 plus hours. For the freaks of nature out there that are professional, he just did it in 8 hours.
8 hours?
8 hours to run a marathon, cycle 180 kilometres and swim 3.8 kilometres. 3 disciplines. You start off with the first one, which is a 3.8 kilometres swim.
Yep.
That can be in a lake, that can be in the sea. For the Ironman races, it normally is in a lake or a sea. Then you transition straight into a bike ride. The bike ride's 180 kilometres, so 111 miles, if anyone's old school.
Oh my God.
And then you transition straight into a marathon. So the marathon is 42.2 kilometre run. And it's not like, you can rest, but obviously there's time cut-offs. I would just say it's probably one of the most challenging things you can do as a human being, because it tests you mentally, physically, and and when you finish it, it's honestly
a rush.
Totally. Like I've played in front of like 30,000 people. Played at some cool stadiums like Murrayfield, St James's Park. I've been lucky to go to New Zealand, get an opportunity there for rugby. I thought that was me done as like, let's just say a sportsman or athlete. That didn't work out for multiple reasons. So then I shifted my focus into my Ironman. I thought that was going to be something like midlife crisis. So I actually thought that's what old guys do. And the general consensus is, when I did my race, I looked around and I went, there's no one here my age. The general consensus is that like midlife crisis, Ironman.
Yeah.
However, I actually thought it was going to be me when I was older, because I can shift to more endurance sports. But I actually, and it goes back, I thought just doing what your mates did, or people like your friends, people that you respected, maybe was doing the right thing, but that doesn't make it right for you.
Yeah.
So what I got great satisfaction from was Ironman, because I relied on no one else. And if you have a conversation with someone and you say, I did an Ironman, it just has a different like oomph to it, rather than I benched 100 kilos. Genuinely, like, I look now and I think I don't care about how much I bench or squat, because in 10 years time, I don't want to look back and hold on to that thing as
I squatted 120 one time.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather go back and be like, I did an Ironman.
Yeah.
I just think that has so much more substance to it than and that's not saying that's not belittling people that do stuff in the gym, squat 100 kilos or whatever it is, or bench press. That's not belittling that at all. It's just not what satisfies me.
And everyone's unique.
Everyone's unique. Like, the person doing that will probably have the same mental battle or similar mental battle that I did when I was doing my Ironman. That doesn't make it not okay. That's completely fine, but it's just not what satisfied me at the time. But I'm sure we're going to speak more about the Ironman.
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, I've got so many questions. So firstly, in terms of order, you swim, cycle, run. Okay. How cold was the water?
It can depend. So Ironmans normally start April time, like just coming out like springtime, and they run, the last few are October time. There's only one in the UK now, full distance, and that's in Wales. So that's the one I did. So the water is actually not that cold, But to be perfectly honest, it doesn't care how cold the water is because you're that like
Adrenaline.
There's a video on my Instagram, and people couldn't care less about any other video that I put up as part of that like collage of videos. They only cared about the one which was like the outlook of the sea and the crowd singing the Welsh national anthem. Like, I cannot tell you, I was stood there with my wetsuit on, a swim cap, and we're ready, in like a pen, like fucking chickens, mate, ready to go. And when that was singing, although it wasn't my national anthem, it just gave me goosebumps. So the water didn't matter. The only thing that was pretty brutal was the smell of, like, the taste of diesel when you're swimming. And when you go into a fishmonger and that smell of fish? Yeah, like that. That was in the water too. It was great, but it just made me swim faster.
Yeah, for sure. And then, okay, right, that's interesting.
So that's the first one. So the water's not actually that cold. And you've got a wetsuit on.
Did it take a lot out of you? Like, see, because I think that people think that swimming is easy, but actually 3.8K, did you say?
Yeah, 3.8K. So the average person takes, what's average now? But the average person takes about 1 hour 10 to 1 hour 25. I did it in 1 hour 14, I think it was.
It's pretty good.
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. I wouldn't say, I swam at school. You'll remember. I swam at school, so did like city championships for school. So, but I was never, if you asked me before my Ironman, Marcus, are you a good swimmer? I'd be like, yeah, I'm a good swimmer. See, when I started that training,
no.
If you asked me, Marcus, are you a good swimmer? I'd be like, I am shit. It made me good, but it's such a unique sport because you can't talk to anyone, and you are just, excuse the pun, so in your lane. You're just in your own lane. With running, it's very sociable. Cycling even, you can chat. It's a social aspect. Swimming, there's nothing social about it.
Yeah.
3.8K, it's over 150 odd lengths of a pool.
Just to put that
to put it into perspective.
Yeah, that's
152,
wild.
I think it is.
Because I remember I used to go to David Lloyd's gym back when I was like 17, 18. I'd do like maybe 4 lengths and be like, oh, that was great. I'm pretty knackered now. You're doing 150.
Yeah, at the start, it was the one thing that I must say I was really nervous about.
The swim.
Yeah, purely because I can run. You tell me to do a marathon, obviously not today because I'm just coming out the back of injury, but let's just say today I probably could do it. And a bike, it's going to be long and a slog, 180k, but obviously we'll touch on it. I could do that. The swim, before I was thinking, that's a long way. It's a long time to be in the water.
Yeah, and do you think that was the sticking point? You were like, I know that I can do the cycle. I know that I can probably do the run, but the swim is just something so...
Well, yeah, you take the swim at the Ironman, I would have probably not had that scared element of it.
Yeah.
It's the one thing with Sophia. So Sophia's just signed up to an Ironman. I've probably influenced her. She is scared of swimming. Not scared of swimming. She's scared of the swim element of it because both of the other parts she's okay. So similar to me, I think scared is actually a really good word to describe it. It makes you think, can I do this?
Yeah.
But
that probably helps though.
Exactly. So it's the one thing that I was like, when I progressed, and swimmers probably looking at it thinking, yeah, mate, that's piss easy. Like, that's cool, but you've got 3 disciplines. That's the unique thing about an Ironman. It's not just one. You've got 3 to be average or above, to be good at, to get a good time or. So I do think swimming was one of those ones where it's just like it keeps you on edge. Yeah, it's daunting.
It was daunting. And how did you train for the Ironman? You said you were training 7 hours a day.
17 to 20 hours a week. So it would look like Monday would be a double session. Okay. So it'd be like a swim and a bike, so like a walk bike session. And then Tuesday would be like a running session, like an intervals speed session. Then Wednesday would be bike and swim again. Thursday, rest. Friday, long swim. So that's when you start getting up the distance. Saturday, long bike. So that we built up to, before my Ironman, 5.5 hours on the bike. But,
it's pretty good.
Yeah, but like that's a long time. No phone. Well, I deliberately didn't look at my phone. I had it on me. but you can't look at your phone when you cycle. It's like,
Yeah.
you can get away with it when you're driving, although you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
But see, when you're cycling, it's really
Yeah.
bloody obvious you're on your phone when you're outside. And then Sunday, long run. So the start of my week was actually a Friday. Because that was the day before my rest, day after my rest day.
And you get one rest day a week?
One rest day a week, and I did that for 5 months.
Jesus Christ. And
Didn't miss one session.
take me through your diet. So
Diet, you can eat whatever you like.
well, because you're burning so many calories.
Totally.
Yeah.
So to put it into perspective, during the Ironman, I know it's probably not accurate. So everyone that's into the fitness industry, looking or listening to this podcast. However, it's quite a good indicator. I'm very much use the same tracking method, so it's consistent at least. So I just kept this Garmin. That's what I took my sleep off of, my weight. My HRV, my as you said, calories burned or steps.
Yeah.
So during my Ironman, I burned 8,500 calories. It's pretty good going, eh?
That's pretty mental.
Yeah, that's pretty good going. I mean, I got back to the hotel room after my Ironman, and I looked like a shell of a human.
Yeah, just skin and bone.
Oh, I look brutal.
I bet it was just dehydration as well.
Oh, totally. So the one unique thing, the one thing I didn't actually do well at, which I kind of kicked myself in the foot, I didn't drink enough fluid.
Yeah.
So my nutrition was on point, but my fluid was pretty poor. So you always think you're drinking enough, but because there's no break with an Ironman, you have to drink way more than you think.
Yeah.
And you need to replenish what you're losing, because on the day when you swim, you sweat. When you're on the bike, you've got the draft, so you don't actually feel you sweating that much until you stop. It's like when you stop and you're sweating, then you get cold. You don't realise until you stop. It was really hot in Wales. It's one of the hottest days they've had for Ironman in the last few years. It's 25 degrees. So, I mean, there was people in the gardens spraying their hoses at us when we were doing the marathon because it was so hot.
I bet you love that.
I didn't love the marathon, and like you have to go. I had your nutrition has to be on point. It's not just it has to be a plan in place. So I'm doing 2 more Ironmans this year. So the one thing I have to nail this year is the nutrition.
And how do you nail that in terms of your?
There's a few things.
Is it do you count calories, or is it more kind of like proteins and grains?
The big thing with nailing nutrition is obviously a few days the week before start loading carbs, because carbs is fuel. I mean, I'm not going to make it so scientific and boring, but carbs is your source of fuel, your source of energy. So start like loading that the week before. I did do that pretty well, I would say. Sleep on point, etc. But if we're just talking nutrition here, during the race, it's making sure that you agree with certain things. So I actually overate on the bike. Probably not a bad thing to do, because it's a way I find it harder to eat while I'm running than to eat while you're on a bike. While you're on a bike, when I say eating, like gels, so the wee sachets.
Right. Okay. So I was going to say, because I was imagining you.
It was quite tough.
Eating a burger.
Yeah. It was quite tough. So it was like sachets with carbs in it. So liquid carbs. It's like a frub.
Right.
And it's like small rules. You can't chuck the wrapper away, or else you get disqualified.
Right. So you need to.
It's like it's small stuff, but it adds up. So like I had a tri-suit on, which is a really tight, like it's a mankini that goes over it. So I mean, like this thing is tight. It's not moving. Like nothing's getting in. So I would have my gel. I figured out like a little routine, and I probably should have done it before, but I worked on my feet while I was doing it. Like a little system. I had gels in my right leg, kind of short, so it's like really tight short, so they would not fall out. So I had my gels that I didn't have yet in my right. When I had them, I put them in my left.
Okay, so you knew exactly.
I knew exactly, and I knew by counting. Like it's like you have to every 20 minutes you have to have a gel. I had over 15, 20 gels, I think it was. So you can imagine fake carbs or fake food going into your system. I hadn't had that much before, so it really upset my stomach, should we say.
Yeah.
On the second loop of the marathon, it got me good, but let's not touch on that too much.
No, for sure. Have you heard the story about David Goggins when this happens?
Yeah.
I've got a question that I kind of
Go
want
for
to
it.
ask you. It's a bit more personal, but from knowing you in school to growing up with you, you always seemed a very determined and, as you said, stubborn as shit person. Do you think that you were driven to succeed in something, or do you think that you were dragged by something that's happened in the past?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's a mixture of both. So I think because, I mean, you can go into personal stuff here, but I do think it's a mixture of half. So let's go with the first one. I think that I'm so driven to success now because of what's happened in the past, and I just think my stubbornness has led me to that. So in terms of competition wise, I'm very much tunnel vision. So, if I set out to achieve something, it's not actually the failure comes, I take it really personally because I'm like, it doesn't come from insecurity, but what it comes from is I don't want to let anyone else down. So I documented my journey with my Ironman from day one. I didn't set out to achieve a time, but in my head, obviously, I had a time, an idea of what I wanted to complete it in. There was no chance I wasn't finishing that Ironman. All my mates that were closer to me said, like, you'll complete it. It's just how you're going to complete it, etc. I think it's a really tough question to answer, but I genuinely think there's stuff probably before in life that's made me so driven to succeed. So I've not seen my dad in 15 years. So I think that's a long, not having that male relationship has definitely impacted me big time. And I was thinking about this on the train over. I don't really talk about personal stuff that much. And that's not because I'm embarrassed. Probably a younger Marcus was scared to go into that because I'm not as open and willing to talk about it. As males, we don't talk. That's the one thing. So I think not having that male to look up to is really important to me. So I want to be a good role model for my family, so my mum and my two sisters, and also my girlfriend at the moment. She's looked up to me, and she's probably done an Ironman off the back of what I did. My sisters, it's really important that they have that male role model that they can look up to, and we go back to the first thing, like consistency. Like I am that consistent. Like I'm like a rock. I won't move for them. So if they do need help, I'm there. So if we're talking about competition wise, it's like my brother did this. Like he's achieved this against probably some odds. I've come back from injury, and I'm so determined that nothing can get in my way. So yeah, probably personal side. It's like going into something like that. You could probably challenge me a bit more on that.
No. It sounds to me, the consistency aspect is maybe something you didn't have as a kid.
Yeah, totally. I think the big thing for me was constant changing. So on the way up here, I was pointing to Sophia, the different places that I had lived in the West End, and she said, "Chris, you've moved a lot." And I went, yeah, it's fascinating because this question ties in beautifully to what I was thinking on the way up. So she was, probing me, well, not probing, questioning me, like, where have you lived? And, I just said, I've lived in 4 different places in the West End. And that was all before the age of 13 or 14. So I'd moved 4 times, which has changed, as you said, lack of consistency. And then we got onto the topic of I've moved 13 to 14 times in my life. I'm 26 now, and it's the first time in a long time that I've not moved quickly. So I think consistency is huge for me. I think I try to portray that as I want to be that guy or that person that people can come to because they know I'm consistent. Like when I was, let's just use Gleneagles as an example. So the last place I worked, I was never late for work.
Yeah.
So people can rely on me. Marcus will always be on time. You'll never be a minute late. You'll always be on time. I'll always, turn up and give 100%. Consistency and output, consistency and, it goes so much deeper than that. But you're right. I think it was probably good for you to probe to me or question me on that, because I probably wouldn't have told you that.
But yeah, I think that this is a question that quite a lot of hyper-driven, hyper-successful people have. And that's what leads them to succeed and also have a deeper level of stubbornness, shall we say. If you, just for an example, my dad, entrepreneur, amazing, incredible, smart man at what he does, building a business, but it's because he was brought up in poverty and he wanted to replace that poverty with something that he never had. So he worked his way up in business. And it's kind of the same thing with you. You never had consistency as a kid.
Yeah.
You moved, X amount of times. So maybe you want to give your family that consistency that you never had.
Yeah, totally. And, as I was speaking to my mum about this, I think the consistency now is you can rely on Marcus. That is the general consensus. You can rely on me because I'll consistently turn up. And it goes back to what we spoke about right at the start of the podcast. Consistency, habits, like these all contribute. There's a reason why you're so consistent as a human being. There's a reason why you want to get up at 3 a.m. because maybe you want to not prove to someone, or you have that old Harrison that you're like, I don't want to be like that. I want to be this new version of me because this is actually who I want to be, instead of pretending that
I'm someone else.
So yeah, I genuinely think that it is a thing. Previous circumstances or previous experiences definitely lead to your future choices.
For sure. But also you can flip them both ways. So if you've had say you've not had consistency in your childhood, a lot of people would turn to alcohol. I'll numb it, or they'll turn to drugs. I'll numb it. But it's pretty amazing how you've not done that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much. I hate relying on people, so I'll never really ask you for help. And people go, "Oh, that's really bad." Like, yes, it is probably quite bad, but I always used to deal with my emotions by myself. So to deal with my emotions by myself, and this isn't a macho male outlook, even though it might come across like that, but I can't remember the last time I cried. And that isn't me hiding my emotions. I'm just not one to express my emotions. And for me to not express my emotions, I deal with it differently to other people. So a lot of people cry to express their emotions. For me, I go quiet. I'm very internalized. I'll hold it. I take it really deep. But for me to deal with that, I will go for a walk with the dog. I will just exclude myself from the situation, and that's how I deal with it. It might not be the best way to deal with it, but that's how I deal with it, and I know that it works. So the best way I deal with things is excluding myself and knowing that that's how I deal with it. I think you could go down a rabbit hole here, and if you put that amount of pressure on yourself and you don't look for help, which is the one thing that I've got better at over the last year, and it's probably why I'm a more rounded individual now. I do express concerns, frustrations to Sophia, to that person, that because she gets me.
Yeah.
And I don't think I had that person that got me before. Truthfully, my mum would never get me because of, let's just say, what I've been through. It's not exactly a hardship what I've been through, but it's not exactly
easy either.
My immediate family, I mean, I don't see any of my dad's side of the family and haven't done for 15 years. It's just my mum, my 2 sisters, and my nana. That's it. I think that's that close knit. People go, "Oh, I'm off to go see my uncle." I'm like, I can't relate.
Yeah.
I don't have that relation there. I think I just stay in my own lane and be like, well, I've just got my little family. I don't compare because everyone's different. I just think it's a dangerous place when you compare, because if you compare, then no one's situation is the same. But you can definitely learn from other situations. So it's one thing that I'm more open to now than I was before.
Yeah. I'm going to totally land you in it here, but do you think your girlfriend's really helped in terms of
100%.
the emotional side of things?
100%, yeah. She just understands me.
Yeah.
And this isn't me, what's the word? This isn't me like opening up. This is just how it is. Like she definitely has helped me, I would say become a better person, because she gets me. She gets me. So when I say something, she'll understand the situation. If I said it because there's a big age gap between me and my sisters, I mean, the conversation's not the same.
Yeah, it's not as deep.
Yeah, like I wouldn't go to my 18, 19-year-old sister for help.
Yeah.
It should be the other way around, and that is fact. It should be her coming to you. That's the way I look at it, and I wouldn't go to my 15-year-old sister for help. That's why I probably dealt with things by myself. And if we relate it back to events like my Ironman, it was like, this is my chance to deal with this by myself. So the race is all on me. I've not got anyone else to lean on. So this is a true test of character.
Yep.
I'm in this for probably 12, 13 hours. I can't rely on anyone else, but not that I wanted to. And it's just like tunnel vision. Like, this is all on me. If this goes to shit, I've only got myself to look at. Because I've played team sports since I was a kid. I think that I was very hard on myself because I made it all about me, not in a selfish aspect, but if I made a mistake, all my fault.
Yeah.
If I didn't do something up to standard, all my fault. But in the grand scheme of things, it was, let's just say rugby, there's 15 people in the field, it was 15 people's fault. It was not just your fault.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So with for example, an Ironman, an ultramarathon, which just it's your body, it's your legs. It's just you. That's all you can look at, which I quite like.
Yeah,
it's quite like.
What impact do you think mental health has in sport with that regards? Do you think that when I go to the gym, I feel great after it, and that's just what happens when you go to the gym? You kind of endorphins are released in your brain, so on and so forth. Do you think that going to a PT like yourself, it fundamentally just ups the scale of happiness in an individual because they are getting that exercise?
I'd like to hope so. I mean, I help people not just in the gym, but in life. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't help them in life too.
Yeah. Because
I'm changing their habits, their outcome of certain things for the better. I want to touch on it. I'm intrigued to hear what you think. I think there is a huge difference between having a bad day and bad mental health.
Yeah, I'm so with you. I think
people get confused with. I think people quickly jump on the I'm mentally bad rather than just saying I've had a bad day.
I think social media adds to that 100%. Totally. I think that
it's okay to have a bad day.
It's okay to have a bad day, but also you need to think about your mood as like weather, right? You get clouds that come in and they roll in, and you feel shit. I get it. I think that there's genuine people out there that have an imbalance in their brain, and we talked to a guy called Brian Costello. He's a therapist, and he said, "Listen, there's people out there, but the percentage of people comparison to who's prescribed medication is tiny." Yeah. He said that people that genuinely have that imbalance, the proportion is tiny. Whereas so many people for a quick fix, and this is something that relates to fitness, so many people for a quick fix will get medication instead of being like, perhaps I should exercise, or perhaps I should get a better diet, or perhaps I should go for a walk. They just prescribe themselves medication, which are perhaps sticking plasters for the overlying or underlying issue.
The best way to think about it is the medication going to solve the problem?
No.
Is it a mask?
It's a total mask. Yeah. I think. Well, there's some people. It's complicated because there's.
I think the medication definitely gives you a head start.
It gives you a head start, but it also let's say you're in such a horrible place mentally that you can't get out of bed. The medication will give you that jump start to perhaps go to the gym and then get into that routine and then stop the medication. Problem is when people rely on it. And
I was going to say, like, it's the mindset shift from saying, I think as people we fall into the trap of thinking medication is the the be all and end all. It's as in, once I take that, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah. It was instant gratification, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I'm going to swallow this and I'm going to wake up a different person. It's not the case. I mean, we can go back and talk about like what has led you to become or to get to the place that where you are now, which is bad. Let's just say you've got bad mental health. What has led you to become bad or poor mentally? You need to work. I always work backwards. So I never work forwards. I always look back and be like, right, let's start at the back and work our way.
Unravel it.
Yeah, and because it's never really the first thing. It's always the thing that's ending. That is the main thing. So I honestly think social media has been horrible for the last 3 to 5 years. It's been like brutal. It's a really good word to describe it, because people have jumped on the bandwagon. As you said, there's a big difference between having a bad day and bad or poor mental health.
Yeah.
Like, I have bad days. But what do I do to fix those bad days or solve them or make sure the next day is better? I make sure I get good sleep. I make sure I don't rely on alcohol to make that instant to numb the pain, instant gratification. Oh, I'll have that and then I'll be fine. But that has so many side effects.
Yeah.
Like cortisol in the brain, for example. It's alcohol actually releases it. I was into a podcast with Andy Frisella. I'm not sure if you're aware of him, and he was just talking about the impact of alcohol, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people resort to that as a numbing. And if I've been in the place where I've had people in my close family where they've been on medication for bad mental health, but it's not a bad day. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
There's a big difference there. But it's trying to take action and be like, let's use that, because that's 50% of the problem solved. You've still got 50% of the problem to solve.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think mental. I think it's just so related to if you think back to when we were like caveman hunter gatherers. Okay, we had a brilliant diet, we hunted, and we were very social. Social media has ironically stripped the social side of things away. Takeaways destroyed your diet, and a lot of the stuff that people eat now, McDonald's, fast food, shite. And a lot of people don't exercise because they're too comfortable. So you're stripping away all the basics of a human person.
I think if you actually look at small things, a good point we can speak about is fast food. It's so affordable. So why wouldn't people, like, if I was in that place of being comfortable, I would probably resort to fast food too.
Yeah.
It's cheap. It's fast. It says it on the tin. Why wouldn't I get a McDonald's burger if I wasn't, obviously in the position I am, where I care about probably I do care about the way I look, because I don't want to be overweight. However, I'm not obsessed. But yeah, why wouldn't people go for quick, easy fixes? It's that instant gratification, as you said, and it's only going to get worse.
But I think that's where the companies that are selling said fast food need to take action in terms of, okay, fair enough, once in a blue moon you get a pizza. Whatever, right?
Completely fine.
Yeah, completely fine. Okay, once in a blue moon you have it. Great. You see if McDonald's put on the wrappers, by the way, you eat this 7 times a week, you're more likely to have a stroke. You're more likely to have a heart attack.
It's like cigarettes, isn't it?
Exactly.
They put horrendous photos on the packaging. Which, don't get me wrong, like it's probably the government that do that, not the companies, because the companies definitely wouldn't do that.
No.
However, just looking at that photo of a lung that's black, it's not exactly good, is it? I mean, you look at it and you're like, but the people that it's not going to put off are the ones that have been doing it for years.
Yeah.
But the ones that it's going to put off are the ones that are at the entry level stage.
But that's exactly where you want to stop.
That's the most important stage.
Yeah.
But you don't actually care about the ones that have been doing it for 30 years, because if you actually take it out of their out of their life or their lifestyle, it'll have probably a more detrimental effect. For sure. It's like if you stop, goes from 30 cigarettes a day to 0, that's going to impact you massively.
Yeah.
That nicotine rush, that is going to impact you massively. So it's not them you want to stop. As you said, it's the people going in at the entry level. They're the people we need to focus on as, they're the people we need to focus on.
There was an interesting stat about Domino's, and the Domino's pizza box costs more than the actual pizza. Because how wild is that? Because they bulk buy their ingredients to such a huge extent and then freeze them that the cardboard boxes cost more than the pizza. And I bet you, right, see if you put on the box to a Domino's pizza, it will cause, let's say, increase your risk of heart attack. It'll increase your risk of blood clots. It adds tons of saturated fats to your system. If you put that all in the box, I guarantee you it repel people from it.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard that stat. That's crazy.
It is horrific. I remember my dad telling me it, and I was like, oh, bullshit. And I looked it up and was like, oh my God.
Then you went back and went, fair enough.
Yeah, shit, that is right. But it's horrendous. And I think a lot of it's the education part as well. If people aren't educated to what good food looks like, then how will they know that they're making a bad decision?
Well, totally. It's education, and it just comes into choices.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, the choices that I have with food, it's so balanced, and I say to nearly all of my clients, just focus on one thing at a time. Focus on sorting either like the facet of your life, so like gym first, and sort that out. Then focus on nutrition. If you try and juggle everything, it's like a recipe for disaster, and that's where most people fail. But yeah, I wouldn't. It's like one part at a time. But going back to your point about let's deter people from having the food if it was visually, on the box, for example, a Domino's box. I'm all for that.
Yeah,
because it comes down to choices that are for people that just don't have the education around it.
Yeah.
Like, people are not doing it deliberately. They're just doing it because they think it's okay. They're not actually... If you ask most people what has most calories in it, the sauce or the pizza, you know that garlic sauce it comes with? That has got so many calories in it. A big tub of it.
That is great as well.
Yeah, it tastes good.
Yeah.
However, people are just not educated on it.
Yeah.
People are not educated on it. And I say to people... MyFitnessPal, the app.
Yeah.
I said, you don't want to be that guy in 10 years' time or whatever, 5 years' time that says, sorry, mate, let me just fill in my FitnessPal when I'm at a dinner table. You do not want to be that guy.
Yeah.
But what I use it to educate. So indirectly, I don't have to educate the person. So I say to them, let's get used to just putting stuff in for the first month. And then from there, the value of an egg. You know the value of the pizza, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize that many calories were in it.
Yeah, so they're teaching themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not, I say to all my clients, I don't want you to be a yes man. I don't want you to just nod and just take all of this in. I want you to understand why we're doing something. This process is not about me telling you what to do. It's about me educating you what to do.
No, for sure. And I think that, teaching them the value of what they put in their body is for sure it's like a hack, isn't it? Because it makes your job easier because all of a sudden they get fitter because they're eating less shit.
Yeah, but that's not normally most of the problem, as we spoke about. There's other facets to that. Like, it's just like habits. Like, why would you resort to that unhealthy food? It's because it's quick. It's because it's easy. It's probably because their time management's poor, so they want to get something instant gratification. So it goes back to quick, easy fix rather than, right, if I get up half an hour earlier, or if I lengthen my day, I have more time to cook, more time, to go to the shops to get the ingredients that, like, I know it sounds really basic, but these are the problems people struggle with.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's actually planning in their head, not going to that, let's use the pizza, not going to that straight away from my source of food. It's like, right, how can I plan my day to make sure my choices are better? But it comes before that, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. What was your... This is a funny one. Social media influencer PTs are just huge now. What are your opinions on people that are giving dietary and personal training advice that aren't qualified? Most of them.
I mean, I'm not qualified to give nutritional advice by the book. I'm not actually qualified to give it. I can advise on it, which I do. I advise. I don't specialize in nutrition, but what I specialize in is pre-race fuel. So what to have building up to a race, during and after, how to manipulate your nutrition in order to increase performance. So I advise on that. I don't tell you what to do, but I will, as I said, advise. Yeah. That's all I can do. I've not got a nutritional certificate, or I've not got that to use, for example, officially.
What would be your advice? So see, being me, right? I'm trying to gain weight. I've always struggled with weight, and I think it's because I do exercise quite a lot. I do an hour a day every day because I know that strips anxieties away.
What's the benefits of it? It's not. Yeah. It's not probably the exercise that does it for you. Well, it is, but it's the effects of what it brings to you. Yeah. Yeah. That's why you do it.
Yeah, for sure. What would be your advice for me to gain weight? What would be your dietary kind of advice?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds really simple, but to eat more. Yeah. No, not a lot, just to eat more and more balance. So I guarantee you probably eat 3 meals a day. You might skip breakfast, or might have a shake for breakfast. It's like to bulk your foods and think, right, instead of thinking 3 meals a day, it might look like 5 smaller meals a day. So it might look like a protein shake for breakfast, you train, you come back, eggs on toast. Then you've got your lunch, then a snack between your lunch and dinner.
So you're breaking it up into...
I'm breaking it into small segments.
Right, okay, instead of just having big every day.
Totally.
And what's the difference between small segments and having one big meal?
I think with one big meal, you're limited. I think if you break it up into 5 little chunks, you can pick and choose what you have. So I always have snacks when I can. So for example, like a protein yogurt, I would always have that as a filler. I call it like a gap filler. I'd always have protein in the morning because I know the benefit protein brings to me, increased muscle mass, increased strength, recovery, which is the main thing for protein. People don't actually know why they take protein. They just take it because everyone else takes it. Yeah. However, it does have huge benefit, so carry on taking it. Yeah. However, I would start. It's like you want to bank that day early. So you want to bank as much as you can early on in the day, so you're not chasing at the end of the day. So that's why I go for the 5 mindset rather than the 3. So if I have 3, but I have nothing in my breakfast of value, it's just shite. Then I'm chasing with 2 meals to go. I'm like, oh my God, I've got to make up such and such with 2 meals to go.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. So you're splitting it so that
if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. No, it totally does. No, it totally does. I'm just thinking of what I have for breakfast. So I normally have like porridge, banana, honey, peanut butter. Yeah, I'm thinking I would just switch to eggs.
That's good. So you start with your porridge. Just make sure you've got a source of protein in it. So like a lot of people put a scoop of like protein powder in it and mix it. You got your healthy fats, so like your nuts, banana in it. You got your honey, whatever. You got your berries, antioxidants. It's just balance, isn't it? Like you're building a bowl full of balance rather than a bowl of just one thing. And then you go into your second meal. So that's relatively small meal for you. Bowl of porridge. Then your next one would be eggs on toast with avocado. Yeah. And salmon.
There's this is kind of bringing it back a little bit, but I know that we were talking about, putting horrendous ads on Domino's pizzas boxes and stuff like that. Vaping has just dominated everywhere I see now. There's a kid vaping this highlighter colored thing. What are your opinions on it?
It's a hard one because the amount of people that are vaping have probably the older so when I say the older generation, so anyone 20 and above has probably smoked before, and now they're vaping because they can do it in clubs, they can do it in pubs, they can do it in restaurants without getting caught.
At home, your parents can't catch you.
Exactly, and it's harder to smoke in all the places I've just said. For the younger generation, they're doing it as it's a substitute for alcohol now, I would say.
That's scary.
Yeah, it's a substitute for alcohol, I would say now, it's really scary because it's so accessible.
And also we don't know the benefits. Jesus, no.
We don't know the negatives associated with vaping. Like, no one truly knows. You can't put a pin in it because everything's different. A cigarette's a cigarette.
Yeah.
I mean, it has tobacco in it. I think vaping, it's so hard because, well, obviously now you have to vape. If you're part of a company, you have to vape like you smoke.
Yeah.
So you have to go outside the premises just to vape. I know a lot of people that vape in public places.
Toilet.
Yeah, totally. Or just when they're walking, because you can hide the smoke. You don't have to blow it out.
Yeah, yeah.
And with smoking in the UK, it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, vaping, it's because it's cheap. So it's cheaper than buying like cigarettes. I bought cigarettes, you'll laugh. I bought cigarettes for a bag of tobacco for someone's Secret Santa, right? Okay. And it was 22 quid for a bag of tobacco.
Jesus Christ. And what was a vape? £4?
Yeah, £4 or £5. Let's just say £4 or £5. And it's you can get in with a fake ID now, like everyone did.
We did in school.
But it's the fact that you can just do as many as you can.
Yeah.
With smoking, there's a moderation of,
you've only got so much cigarette.
Exactly. With a vape, you might have 300 puffs, 200 puffs a day. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the fact that it's just so accessible. I'd say.
It's scary. I think so there's obviously, I think that the carcinogens that are in cigarettes that cause cancer, that cause the terrible stuff, and I've listened to an Andrew Huberman podcast on this, it's not the nicotine, it's the inhalation method. You are burning stuff, you're causing carcinogens, you're inhaling them into your lungs, it causes cancer point blank. Mm-hmm. Vaping, in essence, you're heating up liquid that you don't actually know what's in it. Mm-hmm. And it has huge amounts of nicotine, and there's no tap on how much you can take at one time because you can just keep going. I think that it's probably better for you to smoke it because you're not burning something, and perhaps there's not as many carcinogens. However, I think the net negative is going to be larger because people are vaping so much more than cigarettes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, what I really struggle with? I can stop something like that. Like, I don't, I can stop drinking like that. I'm just so stubborn. So I find it really hard to relate with people that can't just say no.
They have an addictive personalities.
I have an addictive personality to like adrenaline. I chase adrenaline. Mm-hmm. I like that feeling of being under pressure, being against the grain. That's my source. The thing I struggle with, or the thing that I know those people struggle with, they haven't found that. They haven't found their why.
That is so interesting.
So they just relate to the quick fix. It's not even a fix, is it? It's just they don't know their
purpose.
Yeah, it's a really good word to describe it. They don't, and you don't want to get too deep with stuff like 12-year-olds. I wanted to be probably Scooby-Doo when I was 12. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're talking about 18-year-old, 19-year-olds here that they genuinely do not know their purpose. So they'll probably go into that
quick fix
drinking culture, like vaping culture. It comes with maturity, 100%. I have changed so much from the Marcus that went to New Zealand straight after school. And I was talking about it on the train here. Like, I have changed, but my morals haven't changed. I still like to think I'm a good person. I'm still very consistent. Everything I do with purpose. It's like, I will never leave something half done. It doesn't sit easy with me that I can just walk away if it's half done. I like to complete it. Those people that we're talking about, the people that don't know their purpose, they're the people that we need to be really careful of, because they'll just keep going until it gets them.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it, reflecting on what I've kind of done. That, when I first started to stop drinking alcohol and to stop just going out and being an idiot, pretty much, was when I found my why, so to speak. So I found photography and video, and all of a sudden I had something that I really enjoyed. It gave me genuine enjoyment instead of this chemical that you're inhaling that could give you the perception of joy for a while. And I think you're so right. I think people need to find their why and their how. And for some people, that is as simple as climbing a Monroe. Totally.
And I think that's a big thing recently. Like, you'll see a lot of people on TikTok, Instagram climbing mountains, and Monroes, as you said, because they found
Or how?
greater value to life. Like that's their why. My why is...
I need to pause you one last. I promise this is the last time. I swear to God. But I need to ask you a really quick favor. If you have ever taken any value in these podcasts, if you've ever enjoyed these podcasts, if you could hit that like, subscribe button, 5-star button, whatever it is, wherever you are, I would really, really appreciate it. It helps more than you can possibly fathom. And honestly, it would just mean the world to me. Thank you.
Doing stuff that is mentally challenging, so like Ironmans, 250 kilometer ultra marathons, like I get like so much compassion, or so much, like I get such a buzz from doing stuff like that, because it's everything that I have probably set out to achieve.
Yeah. And the bar's going to keep getting higher. That's the
exactly that's the danger.
Yeah.
I said, like, I'm still not done, so I already know what I'm going to do in 2025, and that's not like, oh, I want you to question me. Like, I'm not obviously going to tell anyone, because I don't want someone stealing my idea. However, I already know what I'm doing, and the bar just keeps going up. It keeps going up. And it's the bar has been raised this year to 2 Ironman, and I want to obviously get a better time. I've set the benchmark. Now it's like, as you said, pre-podcast, it's like, what's the bar now? Is it time? Yeah, it's time.
Is that going to get dangerous?
Potentially. Because I'll never be, what's the word?
Satisfied.
I'll never be satisfied with, but I think there's also, if you flip on its head, there's also a danger of being too satisfied.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a middle ground there. You've got to not be comfortable, but at the same time know where your level's at, and find, I think once I get to that ceiling, I'll find something else that might challenge me a bit more, or once I get to that ceiling, I'll never be content. I'm okay with saying that. However, I'll never be comfortable either.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, for sure. That's interesting.
I don't know if that's a good way of summing it up.
Yeah, no, I think it is. I think, relating it, again, I can only talk from personal experience. Relating it back to my personal experience, I'm probably never content with the videos or photos that I create and take, because I'm always looking to the next step. Same with you. You're thinking, I've ran an Ironman, but I could run it faster. And then you're thinking, or do it faster. And then you're thinking, well, why don't I do 2 this year? And then you're thinking, this is my next question. A 250k fucking ultramarathon.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Yeah. To be fair, this is going to sound really bad, but I didn't take that seriously.
Yeah.
Because I was so focused on my Ironman training, I finished that and went, oh shit, I've got an ultramarathon to do. And it was only the weeks leading up to it, I started to realise more what I signed myself up to. In my head, it was... in my head, the ultramarathon was easier, but before doing it,
you thought a 250k ultramarathon was going to be easy.
I thought that was easier, but when I was doing it, I experienced things I probably I hadn't experienced before.
Talk me through them.
So, it's a 5-day event.
Yeah.
And there's 2 loops. You would do 1 loop one day, in terms of, you might have done it 2 times. Then the second day you do the different, the other loop. Then day 3 you'd go back to the first one. Day 4, so it was alternating. There's 2 loops we did. It was in Wales, south of Wales. Same as my Ironman. I got sick of the bloody place after.
The accent kills you.
And then day 3 I experienced some serious pain in my knee, and found out recently that it was actually a tear in my MPFL. So it was pain, like serious pain. I knew something
had gone.
Yeah, had gone, but then I actually looked at it and thought, I'm 160 kilometers into this journey, and I'm not willing to stop.
So you just ran on it.
I ran on it. And every step, and this is no word of a lie, the pain I went through in the Ironman was sore, but I wasn't, nothing.
You're not injured.
Nothing physically injured. It was just sore. It was tough. The marathon was probably the most challenging thing I'd done physically. The Ironman was, the ultramarathon, I got to a point where I was actually injured and thought, I need to finish this.
Talk me through. People talk about this a lot when they're doing extreme sports, that they think of somebody or something to get them through said sport? What was your why?
When I sign up to something, I want to complete it. That was it.
It was just sheer motivation.
Motivation. I'm not willing to stop. I'm not going to get deep about it. That's it. I'm just not willing to stop. I'm a stubborn motherfucker.
And that's just gonna.
All my friends know. You could literally chop my leg off and I'd crawl.
Okay.
like genuinely, it's and then obviously deep down you go through thoughts. So this is probably a wee bit deeper, but it still goes back to that. I'm just not willing to stop. In my head, I was role playing. If I stop, how will I be perceived? If I stop, what is the outcome here? I can't say I've done a 250 kilometer ultra marathon. If I stop, how will I feel internally in myself? Will I want to come back? I don't want to do this again next year.
So you wouldn't be satisfied.
Yeah, I physically did not want to run another 250 kilometers in 2024. So I was like, I'm doing everything I can to finish this race. It was across 5 days, and I mean, it got to a point where my whole left leg was strapped up because it looked like it was all swollen. So I had to actually compress it so much. It was in green tape, and I took a photo of it and sent it to my mates, and they went, "Mate, you need to stop." Yeah. And then one of my mates replied saying, "Lads, he's not going to stop."
Yeah, just keep going.
And that's not being macho male. That's not being like, oh, look at me, I'm so hard. Like, it's not that. It's not a case of that. It's just pure grit and determination. Like, and that's okay. Like saying that. Like, I'm just not willing to stop.
How do you think if someone was listening to this podcast and looking at the stuff you've done so far? I know you've got 2 ultramarathons coming up. How do you think that they could improve their grit and determination over a certain subject?
Do something that challenges you, not physically, but also mentally. So do something outside your comfort zone that scares you. That's probably my biggest takeaway. Do something that scares you.
Interesting. Okay. I think that people can get kind of addicted to that as well. Is that the category that you fall into? You've got the adrenaline buzz from doing something that scares you.
Yeah, so I'm at the stage now where I've done the unknown. So I've done an Ironman. I've done a 250 kilometer. I know how that feels.
Yeah.
I'm now in the stage where I want to, let's just say, perfect my craft. So I want to progress in that aspect or that facet of my life, and then you get to a point where if you get it, you're satisfied. I'll get satisfied if I get the time that I want. I've got 2 shots at it in my 2 Ironmans this year, in August and October. So I'll have 2 shots at that.
The recovery, I was going to ask you, sorry to interrupt.
The recovery was the hardest part.
Was that the hardest part?
Probably mentally as well.
So what happens when you finish the Ironman or even this ultra marathon? I mean, that was different because you were injured. After the Ironman, what did recovery look like?
It was a bit weird. So, I mean, let's just go back a wee bit and think I've built 5 months for one thing, which I've never done before. So it was a bit of a weird process and journey for me as an individual. On that weekend, it was my birthday the day before. So it was the weirdest birthday ever because, I mean, you'll get to the stage, the older you get, the less important birthdays become. It's just another day, isn't it? But at the same time, you'll have, my phone was just like pinging. Brutal. It was pinging with good luck messages and birthday messages, but I chose to not look at them. Or look at them but not reply, and that's not me being rude. I was just so focused on the job at hand, and then on the day, I was just so focused, and everything had led to that day. So I just think outcome has to be really good here. I need to finish the race. That's all I needed to do. And then if you fast forward the week after, it was a surreal feeling. I had just done something, 5 months of hard work. It's like Olympians, they train 4 years for one thing, and then if they don't get it, I think they're the people that we need to be careful of the most.
Mental health wise as well.
Yeah. It's like I was like, is that it? Like, I crossed the line, got my medal and obviously got the well done Marcus from everyone, which I was like, this is cool, but is that it? Like, I wasn't looking for anything else, but it was more right, what next kind of thing. It was a weird feeling. I've never experienced that before. Luckily, I know how I react as a human. I went on holiday straight after, like the day after, to try and switch off a little bit, which I did. And then started to build. I was completely fine, mentally fine. Physically, I recovered really well. I was back in the gym a couple of days later, not heavy or anything, but just taking yourself to, let's just say, the gym or a place where you're doing the thing that you just did, so exert energy, and just doing that, that's a win in itself, just taking you to that place. And then I had the ultramarathon to build to. Once I did the ultra, I was going through obviously a huge emotion there of this is completely different for me, because I know I can do it. I can bloody walk the ultramarathon if I really needed to, but I wanted to run it obviously because it wouldn't feel right. I mean, you run marathons. And then after that, it was just like, I think the lucky thing for me was I got injured, so I had that focus post ultramarathon.
Yeah.
If I didn't get that, I would have been left in a really weird kind of place. Mental state, yes, but not going too deep into it. I would have been completely fine, but it was just been weird transitions for me. I've just done 2 huge events that year at the tail end of the year, and then I had November, December, and now we're in January of thinking, right, what do I do now? But because I was injured, I had the focus of rehab. So now I'm in the place now where it's kind of fallen quite nicely, where I'm starting my Ironman training for my next Ironman.
Yeah.
So it's probably saved me a little bit, all those little fundamentals. But for someone that goes from such a high of high to what do we do after? Because there's such a gap. You can do consistent Ironmans, but you can't do them well or the same level if you're doing them. You can't do it week on week. You could probably do it month on month, but the outcome might not be the same. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird transition because you train so hard and long for something, and then after it's a really weird feeling. I've never experienced.
Silence.
Yeah, your life's different.
Yeah.
You shape your whole life round one thing. So your training, your nutrition, your social interaction with your mates. Now you've got all this free time to focus on social life. You've got all this free time to not train. So it's like something's taken from you, even though you've already completed the thing. So yeah, it's weird. It's hard to express. It's hard to explain because you'll never quite understand unless you're in it.
So oftentimes, and this is a really weird one. People that do extreme sports oftentimes enjoy the silence and journey to do that because it gives their mind something to focus on. So, for example, SES boys do this a lot. And I was talking to one of them quite recently, actually. A lot of them go into extreme sports after the SAS. And a lot of the times, the reason that they do this is because they have trauma in their past that they need that clarity of extreme sport.
Yeah, they need... I would agree with that. That's definitely a thing.
Yeah. They need that silence, that clarity. And they say that like the busyness and franticness of everyday life when they're not training or skydiving, whatever they're doing, that's what gets them.
I think that's really interesting that you say that because the greatest silence I get it's as simple as just walking the dog without looking at my phone. That 45 minutes I have to think in my own head, to think about situations that might happen in the day, to think about situations that have maybe happened the day before. It's that clarity. So I think as simple as that, let's just say walking, it doesn't have to obviously be with the dog, but from in my position, it's that 45 minutes to an hour walking with the dog, transition into the loneliness of me training for my Ironman. I had a lot of headspace to think. So my weekends, I deliberately didn't take headphones on my bike.
So you just did it silent?
I just did it silent for 5 to 6 hours on a Saturday morning.
I couldn't exercise in silence.
Well, you could. If I put a gun to your head, you could.
I could, but...
Everyone thinks they can't do something until they do it.
That's a good way to look at it.
Genuinely, like, the first bike ride, I went, not sure about this. I I think I put them in for 20 minutes and then took them out, put them in, in the pocket and went, I'm just going to enjoy this time by myself. You think about it a lot, you're more aware. I just, honestly, it's really liberating.
I might try that. I might try it. I might.
Like I'll go to the gym sometimes and not listen to music.
Yeah. The next time I go run, I might try that.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I would not take my AirPods on a run either. So I did all my training in silence purely because on the day you're not allowed to listen to music in the race.
Oh, you're not?
No.
Oh, so it was a training thing as well.
It was in the back of my head. I'm very much like I'd rather practice the environment that I'm going to be put in than not. So let's make as many things as similar to what I'm going to do in the day to my training.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Looking forward into, I suppose we're in 2024 now. Looking forward into 2024.
The rest of the year.
Yeah, so you've got 2 Ironmans. Is there anything else? Because that's pretty big. I mean, 2 Ironmans.
Yeah, 2 Ironmans. So I'm going away. So I've left my job. I'm going fully remote online. So I'm online coach. Typical online coach. No, I'm going away for a little bit of time off because the last year I did 4 high rocks competitions, an Ironman, a 250 kilometer ultramarathon. I think the toll of that and competition was really good. Like I am just one for just bashing it out, but the toll of it was quite big in terms of I just need the time off now and just to like space to think. So going away to Asia for a little bit.
Whereabouts?
Bali.
Oh, you're gonna love it.
Vietnam. I'm going across to Japan to see my mate.
Oh my god.
He plays rugby there, so yeah, I think I just need the time off, but not because when I say time off, I'll still be working. I'll still be working remotely, but I think after that, it's like a reset button for me. Once I get back, it's like right, I'm heading the game now. My 2024 starts when I get back to Scotland.
How long are you away for?
3 months. So I get back in May.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's good for me. I use these. I use opportunities like this to reset and for me it is a clean slate. My year starts then. So I've got a marathon end of May, the Edinburgh Marathon. So I'll be pacing. Hopefully I can keep up with it. I'll be pacing Sofia for a time, and I've got my 2 Ironmans August, Copenhagen. And I've got an Ironman in Barcelona in October.
Wow.
And then we'll see. I mean, I've got 2 or 3 months left the year after that. So we'll see.
You'll figure something out.
I'll figure something out.
Let me know if you need any advice. See, when it comes to like Bali, I've done most of these countries for photography, but I also went traveling for a bit. If you need any advice, see like Bali wise or Vietnam, mate, you'll love these places.
Vietnam.
Oh my god.
I just think like there's Asia's one part not really done. I've gone far, like New Zealand, and I've not really done Australia properly, but it's just so different culturally. So it'll be good. And I've said to everyone, I'd rather spend my money on experiences and things I remember. So I'm going to remember my 2023. It's the biggest year yet for me.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather invest all my money into something like an Ironman.
Yeah.
And be able to use that as I remember that in 10 years' time rather than a £1,000 jacket.
Oh, for sure. I think
I'm very much experience
based. Yeah. You're the same as me. I think that especially, that's probably one of the reasons why I got into photography in the first place. I never really cared about material stuff as much as paying for, like, let's say you go to Bali and experience the culture in Bali. That's something that you can take to the grave with you. Money you take to the grave, and what you're going to celebrate having a figure in the bank.
Well, that's the thing. You can't take your money to the grave, can you?
Yeah, it's a number on a screen.
Well, like generally, once you start thinking like that, and I think the last year has been really good for me because it's given me a real like wake up call to life is short. I'm 27 this year.
You're approaching 30, man. Same as me.
No, but like it is when you think about it, it's actually crazy.
Yeah.
Like life goes so fast, and if you don't take it by the scruff of the neck and you don't take action, before you know it, it'll be gone. You don't like we were put here to challenge ourselves. We weren't put here to be comfortable. I think if a lot of people will be surprised with what they can do.
For sure. I think that people unfortunately can kind of waste their life away.
Totally. Like
watching-
people just like small things. Like this week, I've been sorting stuff, like self-employed stuff, like accounting, all that. And the first thing I said to him was, I'm probably not your typical person putting tons of money away for a pension, because who knows, you might not be here when you're 65.
Yeah, for sure.
But life is too short. So I think that goes back to me, the year I've had, I'd rather tick off all these amazing things and these experiences and these races and challenge mentally and physically, because who knows? Like, I know it sounds quite deep, but who knows, you might not be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
I would rather be in that mindset of, like, I've done that. I've challenged myself really, like, mentally, physically. 2023 was a good one for me.
You will, honestly, I'm telling you this from experience, you will love Asia. You see, especially Bali, man. Like, firstly, it's jaw-droppingly beautiful.
What's that coast like?
Oh yeah,
it starts with an N.
Yeah, Nusa Penida.
It's like the famous, like, it's like, do you know what I'm on about?
Yeah, it looks like a crocodile, is it?
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah, or an elephant rather, elephant. But Nusa Penida it's stunning, and you can walk down to what's called the Diamond Beach.
Mm-hmm.
You need to do it,
Okay.
which is below Nusa Penida. You have this Diamond Beach. Be careful of the waves; that gets people. But honestly, Bali is just somewhere where they practice Buddhism there, and Buddhists believe that if in karma. So if they're good to you, you know the world will be good to them. So everybody is so kind. It's so different from the UK.
I think that's part of, like, the amount of people that don't actually leave the UK.
Oh, it's scary.
I'm like take the leap. Like, take the leap. For me, it's probably a bit of a risky move, but it's not at the same time leaving my full-time job where I knew that I was getting X income a month, whether how busy or quiet I was. But it's like, take the leap. Just do it. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen?
Well, the worst that's going to happen is you learn and then you go back to your old job.
Exactly.
So like, it's always going to be there, and you're always going to have that experience. And it's different if you get sacked, because that's a black mark against you, right? But if you leave willingly to start your own business, if anything, to an employer, that shows initiative.
Exactly. Like, I was taken back by the feedback I got when I left last week. Like, it was like people were genuinely happy for me.
Exactly.
Like, they were genuinely happy for me. And obviously, I'm not one to overthink, like, in that aspect of life, but I was like, what? Wow. You know, the amount of people that you think are not behind you, like, have your back, they're the ones that actually do, you know.
Yeah.
You don't realize how much people care about you until you do a move,
A big move like that.
a move like that, complete an Ironman, the amount of messages you get. It's quite humbling. Like, it just makes you feel really special and valued.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
valued. And as you said, like, it shows initiative.
For sure.
And you want someone with that grit.
Yeah,
Like,
to do it.
Like, for you, right, at the start, you're probably doing unpaid work for photography, seeing fuck all results. You're still getting up at 3 a.m, still being like, right, I've got to persist. It will pay off. But the next 5 years, if you keep doing what you're doing, your trajectory is going to be like that.
Yeah.
What people, I mean, I don't want to touch on it too much because we've already spoken about it, but what people struggle with is the instant gratification of, it'll come, it's a quick fix.
It's not.
It's not.
Yeah, it's not. The biggest job, this is no true as well, the biggest job that I've ever had so far, as a photographer, everyone wants to work with Canon. We're shooting on Canon cameras today. That's just who you want to work for. I'd had very little paid work. I was away I think I was in Vietnam. I was doing some work in Vietnam, and I got a message from Drew.
Like photography work?
Yeah. But I got a message from Drew, and he was like, Harrison, there's a message from Canon in your emails. Like, you should probably respond. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, probably fake. Like, and then all of a sudden I got a call. By the way, like, it's Canon. We want to work with you. And it comes when you don't expect it.
Well, that's
and it
the
comes
thing.
all of a sudden.
Yeah, and normally those things, I bet you had a few other things that month that came in.
Yeah, for sure. And it's all at once.
It's all at once.
And what people do, and this is so upsetting, they'll be working. So let's say the goal's here, and as soon as they hit that goal, by the way, anyone listening, I'm putting my hands up. As soon as they hit that goal, that's when things start coming in. They'll work, and then give up just there. Just below it comes in.
All they need to do is that little bit.
Yeah.
That little bit before they reach the goal.
That's
the most important part. Obviously,
the last log.
It's the last little bit. The bit that you think doesn't matter is the most important part. Like for me, it's like never being. That's why I think that never being satisfied is a good thing, because you're always on your toes. I said a saying to my bosses a year and a half ago. I said, I just don't want to be like stale. I'm just not willing to be stale. I'm not willing to be comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be monotonous. As soon as it gets to the point where it's monotonous, that's when you need to change it up. But that's where most people don't, because they're comfortable.
Yeah, no, I'm so with you. We have a closing tradition on this podcast, and it kind of varies from person to person. But I suppose for you, it would be, what is the most valuable lesson that you've learned on your fitness journey?
Oh, that's a good one. What is the most valuable lesson I've learned on my fitness journey? To persist and to not give up. So to explain it a little bit more, you need to challenge the narrative all the time. So when you think you've not got something, or when you think you can't do something, most times than not, you actually can.
It's a bit like that saying. I think it's if you're done, you're actually only probably 60%.
Yeah, you're only halfway.
Yeah, you're only halfway.
Totally. Like when you think you're done, you're actually not. You're only 50% of the way there.
Yeah, and you see that on. I've been doing a load of Monroes recently, and you get halfway and you think, this is shit, and you think, I'm done, but you need to get to the top, right? So you push yourself that little bit further.
Totally.
And you realize you've got so much more in the tank.
And like, to make it like sound like really real and relatable, part of my marathon in my Ironman, I actually walked for 20 seconds. So it's 4 loops, 4 of the same loop. And on the second loop, I walked through like a little town. It was like through the little town centre. There was someone ahead of me, and there was someone watching at the side. And the person at the side shouted, "Come on, Marcus, you've got it! Don't give up!" And it wasn't actually that comment that spurred me on. It was like I actually had a word with myself and I made a promise that I'm not going to stop for the rest of the marathon, because I thought I was done. But then as the saying said, you're only 50% done. You've still got 50% to give.
For sure. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming in. Where can people find you? What's your Instagram handle?
Instagram, Marcus Kennedy, PT.
What, website up and coming?
Yeah, it'll be coming. I mean, all these things.
Yeah.
I've got so much to do in terms of.
You're telling me. Bro. You're telling me.
Being self-employed isn't as glamorous at the start, but once you get everything done, it will come. Yeah. However, Instagram, Marcus Kennedy, PT. Hopefully get a wee YouTube or something up soon.
Oh, for sure. Well, that's what I was going to speak to you off camera. I think that a YouTube would benefit you so much. Reason being is that YouTube is a search engine instead of a social media tool. So social media, you could have 100,000 followers on Instagram, but you don't really hit 100,000
interaction,
people.
Yeah.
Whereas YouTube, let's say you make a video, how to run an Ironman. A lot of people would watch that and given your experience.
But you think that you don't. But until you actually do these things, I'm going, oh God, people actually care about this shit.
Yeah, for sure.
So again, persistence.
It's persistence, and it's also like niche shit. Like I make videos about watches. You'd be surprised at the amount of people watch that.
50% of people don't care about the watch, but the people that do care, the ones that they're the ones you're targeting.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, I think you should do a YouTube channel. It will really benefit you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate your time today.
And it's good to see you. It's good to see you.
It's been a long time.
Back from school.